But first, Pretoria is speaking to all players as it pushes for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine. On Thursday, President Cyril Ramaphosa met with Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky on his first trip to South Africa. Just hours earlier, Ramaphosa had spoken to US President Donald Trump about finding a way out of 3 years of war. Pretoria has also managed to keep strong ties with the Kremlin, and Ramaphosa and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin spoke earlier this week about finding a peaceful resolution to the Eastern European crisis. Now, Zelensky had to cut his trip to South Africa short and rush back home on Thursday after the Ukrainian capital was hit overnight by its deadliest Russian strike in months. Zelensky believes South Africa's support could help force Russia to follow through with an unconditional ceasefire. And Wentzel joins us now with more. She's in Cape Town. And so, first of all, just set it all out for us. Why is South Africa in the middle of this fractured peace process for a conflict that's happening in Eastern Europe?
So I think that Zelensky will be very, very unhappy that he had to cut his tour as short as he had to. He spent basically 24 hours arriving on Wednesday and leaving on Thursday. And the crux of the matter is that South Africa is seen very much as, and President Cyril Ramaphosa as seen as playing a mediator's role, especially with Ramaphosa having spoken to Putin earlier this week, but also the BRICS relationship. Ramaphosa and Putin, of course, are part of this group, so they have a relationship, they have a history. And then if you cast your mind a bit further back, you may not be aware that South Africa, of course, always had a relationship with history had a relationship with Russia from its struggle period, where Russia was one of the supporters during the apartheid era. So there's a lot of kind of ties between South Africa and Russia. So it would be hoped, and analysts are seeing this as well, that Zelensky is hoping that Ramaphosa will be the one to bring Russia to the table, to sit down and help them get closer to peace. Zelensky himself was saying that he hopes that this can be the case. And Ramaphosa, when they were speaking to the media earlier today, Ramaphosa said that the meeting had strengthened the bond between the two countries.
So he was also very clear about being pretty active in trying to play peacemaker between all the parties. Before we move on, Anne, we'll just take a moment to hear exactly what President Cyril Ramaphosa had to say.
We as South Africa would be willing to play our role in supporting the peace process between Ukraine and Russia. And I do believe that the leaders on the African continent who went to Russia and Ukraine would be willing to play that positive role as well. For us, it is important that this war should be brought to an end, and we would like to see an agreement, first for a ceasefire, and secondly, to bring the war to an end completely.
So what does all of this mean for Ramaphosa, South Africa, Pretoria's pretty tense relationship with the United States, which is also a key player in what's happening with the war in Ukraine?
So Ramaphosa also said that just before he met with Zelensky, he was on the phone with American President Donald Trump. And he said that Trump and he had both agreed during this phone call that there needed to be peace in the Ukraine, if only to stop the increasing loss of life. So that would seem like a positive step in the right direction. He also, Ramaphosa, said that Trump and he had agreed that they needed to meet in the near future. Now, this, of course, to discuss the frosty relationship that currently exists between the United States and South Africa. Donald Trump has been very busy since coming into office with kind of alienating, in a sense, South Africa. It started right at the beginning of the year when he posted on social media about white farmers, saying that the South African government was treating them badly, was stealing their land, and also that they were being murdered in their droves, and basically nothing was being done about it. He was challenged in this because there's no factual evidence to support this. Nobody's land is being taken without compensation. And if you don't want compensation for your land, nobody's going to take it because that would be a land grab. So there was that. And then, of course, a few weeks ago, there was, he said it again, and he invited the farmers to come to America, even saying, come, bring your families, we will fast track you to citizenship. So far, it doesn't appear that anybody has accepted this offer. And then there was the matter of tariffs. So a 30% tariff on South African exports is quite hefty, especially in our agricultural sector. For example, with oranges, and outside of Cape Town is Citrusdal, and that's a farming community which will be badly affected because of the oranges that they send out. So these are things that need to be seriously discussed with Trump. And they need to move forward because right now the fracture threatens not only South Africa, but Africa as well, because Africa as a continent is kind of going, especially with also the US aid being the cessation of US aid, is saying, look, well, you know, what do we need from America and what can we do for ourselves? And we've seen this happening in America as well. Yes.
And Wentzel, thank you so much for breaking that all down for us. Anne Wentzel there speaking to us from Cape Town as Cyril Ramaphosa sets out his ambitions for moving along the peace process in Russia's war in Ukraine.